knee-high boots that had like platforms on them. And so like my hips and my thighs hurt so bad today because I was using muscles I don't usually use to walk.
I remember
I
that.
looked,
Riot
yeah.
Fest went for a 4-day festival one day, and I was like,
Mhm.
I remember this being a 3-day. My legs remember this being a 3-day.
Yeah.
Day
Yeah, like
4.
my legs are feeling great today, let me tell you. They are not happy with me. But oh, it was fun. I'm so sore, but yeah, it was enjoyable. Felt just like a big party where nobody knew anybody. Uh, and then at the end of the night, we threw our worries into a fire.
That sounds fun.
And there was at one point where people were chanting, like the organizers were like, now remember, we're not a cult. And then people in the crowd were like, cult, cult, cult.
What every cult says.
Exactly.
We're not a cult. That's what you want us to think.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody was like dressed up like, like fairies and like Ren Fair garb, and it was cool. Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm gonna start it. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Riley and Friends podcast, episode 7. I am Riley Constantine, aka Biological Riley, and I am joined by my two esteemed guests, Corinne and Gabe. Say hello.
Hello.
I gotcha. And today's topic is we're talking about the art that made us, like whether it be movies, video games, music, books. I'm forgetting what TV shows, whatever. And I see that Gabe has a choice background, so I'm going to start with
that it flipped it on the other side. It mirrored it. How dare it ruin my terrible Crash Bandicoot rape joke?
What?
You know the part where he goes right before he jumps on the back of the animal? Even as a kid, I'm like,
this is suspect.
like, what are we doing here, Crash? Every time.
Okay. I mean, did you want to start with wait, did you grow up with Crash Bandicoot, Gabe?
I think we both did. I recall this as well. At least let's just say we'll start with video games. That's a good place to start.
Okay.
I started with a Game Boy. I think that was the very first thing I had was a Game Boy and Pokemon Red. And then I think eventually expanded to not having a console for a couple years, and it came with Crash Bandicoot Warped and Ape Escape. And those became like my obsessive staples for years.
Yeah. I mean, I think Crash Bandicoot 2 was one of my first video games that I played. My dad and my mom were going through a bit of a rough patch at that time, so my dad bought a PlayStation in order to convince me to go over to his place more.
The classic divorce video games.
So I was like, I can take this back to mom's, right? No.
Crash Bandicoot is only at my house.
Yeah, so I played Crash Bandicoot 2, and that was what kind of got me into video games. When replaying it later, you like playing it, when they did the remake / remasters, whichever you want to call it, like it was like so nostalgic just to play like those games. I love the way they controlled. I loved the how good the jumping, the actual platforming feels, how it flips your perspectives, because it goes into because it's sort of a 3D platformer, but sort of not, because you can't control the camera. I think they call it 2.5D.
Yeah, it was one of the first times I've heard about that.
Yeah, and it it was always fascinating just how creative they'd get with the level design, and the zero gravity ones, and then with Warped it was even more amplified because they put the time travel spin on it.
I loved Warped.
Yeah, I mean, one is kind of rough still to play. I mean, especially if you try to play with analog sticks, because the analog stick, because when they did the the analog sticks when they did the remasters. You could play the first one with analog sticks, but it was clearly not designed for that. Like it's much more direct if you use the D-pad, and I was just better using. I like my muscle memory is like I use the D-pad when playing these games.
Crash 1 is one of those games I raged against for a long time due to a level involving a bridge that will remain nameless.
Yes, the high road.
It's the worst. Whoever made that game needs to play that level 100 times before they release it.
Well, that was what made me realize I should not be playing with the thumbstick on when the remaster. Because once I stopped playing with the thumbstick and used the D-pad instead, I was able to get through the level just fine. When playing the remaster, at least, because my muscle memory took over, and I was like, this makes more sense. But I died a lot when replaying that in the remaster, just because the thumbstick just was like,
the bridge every time. You're like, I'm on the damn bridge. I'm walking the tightrope. And I'm like, nope, no, you're not.
This bridge needs better safety standards.
This bridge is a hazard.
And it was. So one of the reasons that I kind of got inspired to do this topic today was, I was requested by Patreon to talk about Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, the movie. And that's kind of one of the movies that got me like really into like the idea of, wow, this like something so creative can be made, which I know doesn't sound very very deep, but it's like it was the first time where I was like, movies can like just take you to a whole new world, or like just create its own fantastical story and make it like believable.
No, I agree with that.
And that was like I mean, there were movies that I loved as a kid before, like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, which we'll talk about the new one in a second. I actually liked it, but and other things like that. But
Lord of the Rings was interesting because the adaptation of it was way better than it had any right to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lord of the Rings is actually one of the pieces of media that made me, in the sense that it was the books. And while I love the movies, I didn't learn to read until the 3rd grade because my mom's dyslexic, and so she wasn't great at helping me, but I kept just memorizing books instead of learning to read them. So we didn't have a ton of books, so I'd be like, my mom thought I could read, and really I just memorized the entire book, and like I just kept doing that until somebody realized that in the 2nd grade, and they're like, wait a minute. This kid doesn't know how to read. She's just memorizing everything, which is a feat in itself, but
yeah, impressive.
Yeah, yes. Impressive. The lengths I was going to learn how not to read. And so then I went to like a special reading class, and 1 year in that special reading class, I knew how to read because I could no longer fake it because they knew that's what I was doing.
What's at the bottom of page 8? My eyes made it to the bottom. What's on the bottom of page 8? I don't know what they talked about.
Yeah, I don't know. And so I learned to read really late, like by comparison to a lot of people. But as soon as I did learn to read, I jumped ahead. Like as soon as I got reading, I just got it. Like I was like, I am suddenly leagues ahead of the reading that other kids my age are doing. And Lord of the Rings was one of the first series I read because as soon as my dad knew I could like read, he gave me the books because they were like a childhood favorite.
Sure.
And so I read through that series really young, and like it was the first series that I really got into, one of the first book series that I was like, yes, this is a whole world that I can explore, and reading's pretty new to me and I love this. And wow, he talks about grass for a long time, but that's okay.
I felt that too, though. That was my dad's the same exact thing. So it's just one of those passed on series. Yeah,
it's a very passed on, like, we read it and now shall you. And and so I'd say it's definitely it was like the book series that kind of helped make me a reader, I guess, because it was the first time reading was something I wanted to do instead of just, oh, they're making me learn to read. But what if I just memorize everything? That's easier. I don't know why I thought it was easier. I can't transport myself.
It's not.
Third.
It's one of those do more work to get out of the work thing.
Yeah, exactly. I was a second grader and being like, game the system. I don't know. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that because that was exactly the same for me. My dad introduced me to Lord of the Rings as like the very first book series. He's like, "Oh, you like books? This is the books."
Yeah. If you like books, these are books.
He's like, "Well, no, you're right. These are the books."
Is it weird that after watching the movie, I tried to read The Lord of the Rings and I just couldn't get into it?
I feel like that is the incorrect order to do it because once you watch the movies, like the movies condense stuff a lot and take out the weird stuff that's not really. I mean, Tom Bombadil when.
Yes, just saying that name.
Yeah. And so it's really hard to watch the movies and then go try and read the book unless you read the book prior already, because the movies really do. It captures the essence. It's a really great adaptation. Like there is nothing to scoff at in the movies. They do a great job while also taking out and we talked about grass for 20 minutes. Just how green it is, and so.
Or 4 or 5 chapters of just, we walked. And we walked some more.
We talked.
It's so dry.
Mostly we walked.
a part of me wants to, as a joke, just grab my Lord of the Rings trilogy and just put a bunch of mayonnaise on it, just so it's not so dry. But I'd feel bad doing that to literature, especially what's considered to be classic literature. So I won't do that. But I do it in my mind.
It's up here.
It's I do it in here.
It's the mental mayonnaise, I see.
The mental mayonnaise goes on to the mental Lord of the Rings. It needs some juice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely it's a book series that if you haven't watched the movies, read the books first and then watch the movies, because if you watch the movies first, you're going to be like, this is just longer.
Alternative though,
it's
you like. Sorry, go ahead, Riley. No.
Oh, I was gonna say. I mean, what really threw me off. It wasn't necessarily just the how long everything read. It's just how the characters talked, and I'm like, people don't talk like this.
I'm glad you went first because my alternative suggestion will fix this. The audiobook read by Andy Serkis, where he does all the character voices. Just A+. Everyone should listen to it.
Okay.
I've heard it's very good.
It's very good. He does every voice and the impressions. You're like, how the hell are you you're one dude nailing every single character in this. Just nails it. So that I would recommend if that's an issue. You don't feel it as much when you're like, it's Gandalf.
Okay. If an actor can sell it, then I can do it.
Andy Serkis is the Lord of the Rings man.
Okay.
Yes. On the topic backwards of video games, I kind of have a weird history with video games because we were gaming in my household since I was really, really young. We had an original Nintendo, we had a Super Nintendo, because my uncle was a big gamer and he lived with us when I was younger for a while. And so he was the baby of the family. So he was in college when I was, in the 3rd grade, So some of the earliest games I played were Duck Hunt and Pinball and the really classic Nintendo games, and then playing Mario on the Super Nintendo and so on and so forth.
You got the full experience.
I got the full experience, the full Nintendo experience. And then later we had a Sega and so on and so forth. We got I had access to all of these, but the games that actually kind of made me who I am as a gamer and started to really show what I was interested in, oddly enough, came later with The Sims and the Pets series, because both of these I could mod. And I did. I learned to download and pirate and BitTorrent and all the things I needed to do to play these games the way I wanted to play them. And that was very much what made me into a PC gamer, because I'm very much a PC gamer these days. Like I occasionally play console, but I love the flexibility of being on a PC, of being able to mod things, of being able to make the game that you want to play. And I think that started with The Sims and the Pets series, where there was avid fan communities where I could just be like, I want to do this. It exists. How do I make it work? All right, time to mess around with my computer for 6 hours to get to work. All right, it's working. Yes.
Yeah, that's a console thing. Like, console fan here. Yeah. Like, I didn't experience mods till probably Fallout 3 added them.
Yeah. So it was. Oh, there's Bevan.
Hello, Bevan.
Yeah. So like, I would say that those are kind of the games that made me, because they made me into a console gamer after growing up, or made me into a PC gamer after growing up with all the original consoles and loving them, and having that joy, but then being like, I can make the game do what I want. I don't just need to play it. And I think that was, pretty revolutionary.
Oh. I mean, I've always been kind of a console gamer. I like the convenience of it. I buy the thing, it play the thing. And like I always do feel the appeal of like the mods for like PC. But like, I'm so lazy when it comes to some things. And it's just like, for me, it's like, I want to just buy the thing and make the thing and have the thing work.
Yeah. There's also the bit of having come into the PC gaming way late. And I'm like, why is this not working? Oh, it's one of a million things that could be why. I'm going to go downstairs and put the disc in where the disc plays.
Yeah. There is a certain learning curve with PC gaming for sure. And like, most of the time it just works. But you can also have too many mods and make conflicting things, and then everything breaks, and then you lose your Skyrim save because every time you just constantly it's making a whooshing sound, as if you're turning into a werewolf, but you're not, and you can't hear any dialogue, and it's really annoying. And so you don't play Skyrim for 10 years.
Not a personal story here at all.
Not a personal story. Just off the cuff.
Accidentally modding Fallout 3 to make jetpacks go forever and never coming back down. Wouldn't tell you I've done that.
Another kind of franchise that I kind of had that was important to me, I guess, was Lucasfilm stuff. So Star Wars, I grew up with Star Wars. I was kind of obsessed with it. I watch all of them repeatedly, sometimes in the same day, because that's what kids do. They have so much free time. But I also did Indiana Jones, and I kind of wanted to segue that because I saw Indiana Jones 5, and the Dial of Destiny. And I know it, like, critically it got mixed reviews. It's had like a mixed reception. I actually personally really liked it. I mean, it's not like the best Indiana Jones movie, but I'd say it's one of the good ones. In it, like, and I kind of approached this one with a very, originally when seeing the trailer, very cynically. It's because it's just another example of how the industry just loves pre-established IP that they can make more and more stuff out of, even though they can't just let things end.
Never.
But after seeing the movie, like, I'm actually kind of glad I actually am glad that it exists, because for one, it's a much better send off than Crystal Skull, because Crystal Skull is the worst Indiana Jones movie.
Oh yeah, it was so bad.
That movie gave me very upset feelings about the series in general. So if it gets your appeal for an ending, I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's a much better ending. It actually plays into the idea of, like, Indiana Jones is old now, more so than Crystal Skull did. Like, it's like, this is like like, you know, it's like the movie makes no qualms like, hey, Indiana Jones, he's an old guy now. He's kind of out of, you know, he's out of touch, out of sync with you know, modernity, because modernity is looking to the future. Because like when it gets to, as it has like the whole flashback sequence with young Harrison Ford, which is immediately kind of awkward because it's like uncanny valley a little bit, because it's like there's an 80-year-old man voice coming out of your like body. It's kind of awkward
I keep
and weird.
wishing they would just find actors.
Yes.
Just do a young actor. They did
Yeah,
it with
seriously.
Indiana Jones 3. Like
Yeah.
they did like, because in the Last Crusade they had that whole introductory sequence with a different actor, younger Indiana Jones. So they should have done it with this one.
Sorry
But
about my talk, but
it's
yes.
okay. It's production value. She's production value. She's an
There
asset
she
now.
is.
Um
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, but
choice
I-
to let 80-year-old Indiana Jones talk like 20-year-old Indiana Jones.
well, he's
Yeah.
more 30 or 40 in this.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because it's towards the end of World War II.
Yeah.
And it sets up the whole point that, like, you know, the Nazis, they lost, you know, and because that actually hadn't really been explored too much before, because he spent so much time fighting the Nazis, but he never got to revel in the victory of the Nazis were defeated. And in this one, you know, when it switches into modernity, it like it's all about the space race, and like, you know, the day it starts on is the day we landed on the moon. But how did we get to the moon? You know, and a part of that was the help with, you know, Nazi scientists.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's kind of him, and one of the bad guys is one of the people that helped us get on the moon. And it kind of plays into the whole, you know, the past, where like some characters try to ignore the past, like, you know, because, you know, Nazism has been defeated, you know, and it's like, you know, if we have like one, you know, if we have like one Nazi guy around, he's not gonna be too bad, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and Harrison Ford is like, no. I mean, because like in the movie,
one
like,
Nazi is too many Nazis.
yeah,
Get them out of here.
Exactly.
We need more people like that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
well, I mean, there's the whole saying that if you are having a dinner and there's a Nazi at the table and everyone continues to have dinner with the Nazi, there's now not only one Nazi at the table. Like, you're all complicit. And yeah, I think
and kind of the character that reflects kind of like this new age, like, you know, the war is over, it's fine, they're harmless, they're helping us if anything, is the Indiana Jones's goddaughter, Helena. I'm trying to remember who the actress is, because she's very prominent in this movie.
Is this the person from Fleabag?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought.
And her character is interesting because like she tries to go in. It's not really a spoiler too much, as it happens early on in the movie, but she you know, tries to, you know, fish for information out of Indiana Jones about the Dial of Destiny, which is like this time travel, you know, a relic that is potentially a time travel device, which is what or can find fissures in time, as what which is why Mads Mikkelsen's Nazi character wants it, for obvious reasons. But you know, and she wants it because she's basically Belloc from the first movie, and she wants to sell it for a quick buck.
Okay, classic time travel things.
Yeah, well, she doesn't care. She doesn't believe in the time travel stuff. She doesn't believe in. She just wants the money.
Sell the
and,
relic.
and she doesn't care who buys it, if it's a Nazi. She doesn't care, and that's kind of
she doesn't believe it works. So.
Yeah, and she's like, it makes me money, so oh well. And it's kind of an interesting conundrum, because it's like you have Indiana Jones's goddaughter, who's like, you know, she's kind of like the enemy, one of the enemies from the first movie, and she's kind of representing this modern idea that, you know, the times have changed. The old World War II and the Nazis, they're done, it's over. But then it's kind of like, well, are they? And it's kind of relevant I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm probably like just like talking like not making too much sense because I liked this movie. Like it had and on top of that it had all this like it's had like the Indiana Jones sense of adventure. It had the mysticism. He fights Nazis. He doesn't get too involved in like the action because Harrison Ford is an 80-year-old man now.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that.
Be fighting most things.
There's a lot of car chases. There's not like too much where he goes hand to hand, and the movie even acknowledges like there's this one part where he's like climbing up a rock and he's just like staying there for a little bit. It's just Helen is like, why aren't you moving? It's just like, give me time, or something along those lines. It's like
I'm glad they did that though, instead of the whole like I can still fight. Let's ignore everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm 80.
Yeah, and I know there's like some critique where it's like it's yet another Disney Lucasfilm project where like the legacy character is a jaded old man, but I don't really think he's too much jaded as much as the fact that he's just an old man and he's like he's seen a bunch of shit and some things changed for the worse. He has regrets, but that's not really being jaded. That's being old.
It's also just Harrison Ford. I think that's what people are pulling from. That's just how he is.
Yeah, true.
If he wasn't a jaded old man, he wouldn't be Harrison Ford. Like, Harrison Ford characters are not known for being, like, happy-go-lucky. Yeah. They're not. That's not who they are.
I'm a happy old man who's lived his life well.
You would need a different actor. I just... Not to diss Harrison Ford's range, I just feel like he'd be playing very out of type.
Yeah.
He nails the certain character is what we're getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That character is jaded.
Yeah. But he's just, it's just like, it's a natural thing of getting old. You experience a lot. You experience a lot of loss. You experience a lot of regret. And there's sometimes some victories, sure. But, it's kind of a balance of things. And I think that the character kind of reflects that pretty well. So it's not like, he's a yet another jaded old Lucasfilm character, I guess. I don't know. But I
actually want to see it now because of what you're saying about it. To be honest, I was a little less, I don't know, lukewarm.
I was worried. Bless you. I was worried about the introductory sequence because, there's as we said before, young Indiana Jones is kind of uncanny valley and kind of awkward and silly, and they should have just hired a young actor to play like in the old days.
Like he would have done before all of this technology. There's there's this one actor who looks just like young Harrison Ford. Like, just cast him. He looks so much like young Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Also probably a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just cheaper to cast this guy whose name I don't remember, but it was he was noted when they made the Han Solo movie. People are like, why didn't they pick this guy? Look at him.
I mean, there's that. The movie is a little long. It's the longest Indiana Jones film. It's 2 hours and 34 minutes.
That's long.
Yeah, it's long. But and then I also enjoyed how it kind of sidestepped the whole the whole criticism against like the whole franchise where sometimes it doesn't always belong in a museum.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we kind of imperialism, colonialism, whatever, we kind of took stuff from other people and we put it in the museum. That doesn't belong in a museum.
British museums.
And some American museums too.
Some, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, probably more than some. I was just being generous. But I probably should.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and I gotta say, like they kind of sidestep it because like the relic they're at. Yes, the relic they're after in this one is from Greece, so they can kind of at least sidestep some of the more unfortunate, since it's not from like a indigenous population. It's not a relic from an indigenous population or anything like that, so they can kind of sidestep a little bit of that and not really address it at all. But overall, movie is good. Not better than Raiders or Last Crusade, but I'd say it's better than Crystal Skull, definitely, and Temple of Doom. Because Temple of Doom is fun, but it also has a lot of problems.
It's flawed. Yeah.
It's a fun, flawed movie.
It was definitely written by a man going through a divorce.
Yeah. And this one, it's like, I'm glad it exists because it lets it end on a better note than Crystal Skull did. And for that, I'm happy. And it also gives me hope for the Star Wars movie they're doing with Rey, because hopefully that can end that whole thing on a better note than The Rise of Skywalker, which was trash.
That's probably the only reason she agreed to make it, to be honest.
Yeah. Maybe it could redeem that whole thing. I hope.
I love that she's like, and John Boyega will come back, and John Boyega's like, what now? He's been like bitching about Star Wars since he quit.
Yeah, which he very much deserved to.
Mm-hmm.
The entire storyline was tanked.
They ruined his character for sure.
Yeah. He deserves so much better.
Maybe they lure him back by saying, "Hey, maybe you can be a Jedi."
Yeah.
Remember that thing where we teased you were going to use a lightsaber and then never again? Lightsaber?
Yeah.
Would you
we'll
like
give you one.
We'll even make your own color lightsaber.
That would do it for me. Yeah.
I always love like Samuel L. Jackson's like when he was like, "Can I have it be purple?" I mean, they don't come in purple. I want it purple. Okay, we'll do purple.
And the whole reason he wanted purple is so that he could always see himself in fight scenes, like in the big fight scene. He was like, I always know where I am.
It's genius.
Yeah. Because no one else has purple. So, like, whenever there was big fight scenes, he's like, there's me.
That's brilliant, though, really.
Yeah.
So let's see. We did some books, some movies, some games. Shall we do music briefly?
Yeah, we can do music. Absolutely.
So I can start this one if you want.
Go ahead.
Because I've been thinking about this because there's 4 moments for me that like really changed things. I remember getting a Now That's What I Call Hits CD. It was the first CD somebody gave me, and I hated everything until I got to the Hell Song by Sum 41, and it kept like, back, do that one again. I'm like, Coldplay, no, go back, do the one with the yelling and the guitar again. And I was like 10 at the time, and I was like, this is the one I like. I like the other ones okay, but this one. So I went and picked up Does This Look Infected, and my mom saw the cover, and she's like, he's got maggots on his face. I'm like, that's the one. Give me that one. That was the first CD I got, and for like a year, that was the only CD. And that comes moment 2 where my friend's brother showed me Real Big Fish. I'm like, ska music is like cheese sticks for the brain. It's like, that is what I didn't know I wanted. Everything is happy and they all sound so happy, and then you listen and they're all really depressed, and it's perfect.
They're all incredibly depressed, but to a happy beat.
It's great though. That's what I wanted. And then there was a moment 3 where I was editing, I think I was like middle school, and I was supposed to be learning how to make movies, and I was not doing that. I was making things in GarageBand, and I hit eject to put a CD in to burn something, and out popped Hate Music. I don't even know if you've heard this one, Riley, but Hate Music was a playlist somebody made. I don't even know. I wish I knew, so I could thank them. It was like my introduction to 9 Inch Nails and System of a Down and Deftones, and I'm like, my 12-year-old brain was just blown. It's like, whoever made this, you don't know what you've done, but it's damage and wonderful at the same time.
Perfection. I mean,
I wish I could have found that again.
I mean, for me, it's kind of like for music, I wasn't really too into music until I was like in early high school. Or maybe no. I mean, there was some middle school. Like, I liked song. Like I liked hearing songs by Linkin Park, because that
Mhm.
was Hybrid Theory Meteora era of Linkin Park, which is the
Right.
best Linkin Park.
Exactly.
I do still have fun. I think there's still good moments on Minutes to Midnight, but it was not as good as Hybrid Theory and Meteora. But I liked some things out of that. But what really got me into music was Incubus. Because they had that stretch of like 3 or 4 albums that were just fan-fucking-tastic. I mean, Crow Left to Murder, Morning View. Let me see.
Make Yourself.
Make Yourself. Yeah, Make Yourself. I know the band doesn't like it as much, but I personally love Science.
Science is fantastic.
Yeah, I know. And it kind of started because it had that mixture of melody, but also kind of like because Science had that kind of new metal kind of style to it a little bit. And it kind of got me into other types of new metal that were mostly good. Mostly.
All the bands that are no longer calling themselves that anymore.
Well, no, I think actually a lot of bands still call themselves new metal again because new metal is kind of popular again. I mean, and I think that it's kind of cool that because there's a lot of new bands that kind of like, we grew up on this stuff, and I think they think there's some merit to it, and they're kind of either copying the sound or they're kind of expanding on the sound with more modern elements, as you can see with like some like hardcore new metal fusion bands, like say Code Orange.
Yeah.
Which their new single was awesome. I enjoyed the shit out of that. Just because it sounds like Jonathan Davis, Korn slash like alt metal. It's fun, but I grew up listening to a lot of new metal. System of a Down. I got into Slipknot later, which is odd because I'm from Des Moines.
I did too, though. I think I don't know. It's an acquired taste in a certain way.
It is, but it's so good once you can get into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
System was a lot of people's first like metal album. Toxicity, I think.
Well, Toxicity was a huge album, and it was it bridged the gap between metal and the mainstream in a way that was very unique, and it also had a lot of bite to it, a lot of teeth in terms of just its subject matter and like its production.
And I'm sure you're this way too, but Nine Inch Nails was another huge one for me.
Nine Inch Nails was another big one. Once I discovered, I got really into the Fragile. That was one of the first albums I ever really got by them, and I was like blown away just by like how epic it felt. The sense of music and quality. Corinne, did you have?
Yeah, I did. So I actually had kind of, growing up, everybody was into like the boy bands and Spice Girls and all that stuff. And it was never really my thing. I listened to it. I played along. I played the part, but I didn't really have music that started to hit me until for my birthday one year, probably when I was 11. My friend Veronica, she gifted me Bleed American by Jimmy Eat World, which later got renamed to just Jimmy Eat World following September 11th.
Yeah, there was a bit of that.
Yeah, so I had the original Bleed American. So I must have had it. I must have gotten it right when it came out because my birthday is July 30th. It came out on July 24th, 2001. And my friend Veronica was just like, I think you'll like this. Just like kind of out of the blue. Like, I don't know, like, she just knew something about me and she gave me the CD and I listened to it on just repeat for days. And I was like, this is music like I've never heard it before. And that just kind of like expanded my musical horizons. I finally had music that I liked. Whereas before it was always just like either, the classic rock that my parents liked, which I liked, but it wasn't mine, or the boy bands and the Spice Girls and like the very I don't know, the pop music that wasn't my thing. And then there was Jimmy Eat World, and I'm like, this is the first thing that feels like maybe it could be my thing. And I loved it. And from there, I went to like Green Day, and like I loved Green Day. And then finally the kind of like the pivotal moment for me was when my other friend, people will just look at me and give me music that they think I will like, because this twice now it happened, and it
Good
I
problem
don't
to
know.
have, though.
Yeah, people are like, you will like this, and they're right. Because my friend gave me a CD that had burned onto it to Motion City Soundtrack albums, their first two. And that was the next thing on repeat. Like that was when I was in high school. And from there it like really shaped my music, what I liked, like for a very long time. And to this day I still love Motion City Soundtrack. You know, other things fade, but I still love them.
I was thinking about that. Like pop punk for me could just not exist aside from Motion City Soundtrack, and I'd be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just love them specifically. They're great. And it's another, like, the music sounds really cheery, and then you listen to lyrics and you're like, wait a minute.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Every song is about like suicide and depression and drug abuse.
Yeah, every single one. But they're so happy sounding. And then kind of the last shift recently was I started listening to We Are the Union, which are a ska band that are just super fucking gay. And it eventually slowly led me down this rabbit hole where, as I've mentioned, now I mainly listen to sad lesbian music. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of been my waves, and I'm currently in the sad lesbian music wave. But
sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, yeah, I was just sad lesbians.
For me currently, like I'm like when I first really liked nu metal, and then I kind of expanded into other genres like thrash, new wave of British heavy metal, new wave American heavy metal, groove, and just kind of like expanded on from there. Like, and I listen to like all sorts of metal. Like I'm currently about like listening to a new death metal album by Cadaver, but like I still find myself drawn back to like the good nu metal stomp sounds, or modern bands that are doing that. Like I currently like jamming Saint Agnes, and I mentioned this in the chat last night. It was because they're like this, you know, they released their debut album, and it's kind of sounds like a combination of someone on Metal Injection said it's like if they had 2000s nu metal stomp with broken era Nine Inch Nails. But I would also like to add, if you put the Yeah Yeah Yeahs into that blender, that's kind of what they sound like, and it's awesome.
Sounds
like
it sounds really good.
Like it's so much damn fun. Like it just
sorry,
appeals. No worries. It just appeals to kind of like what I originally gravitated towards when I listened to the music back when I was a kid.
Nu metal's interesting because I used to hate it because that was what happened when it became a thing that people had to hate. But I always wondered what would it have been like as nu metal without Limp Bizkit ruining it. Well, because they started a trend that got worse. Well,
there were a lot of bands that ruined it. I mean, there's them.
I think they were just the one that was famous.
They're the one famous for it because they're a joke, or at least they like the people treat them as a joke. I think they're a joke, but I mean, there's a lot of bad nu metal. I mean, like, because I guess maybe you could apply Crazy Town to it too.
Oh God, do we have to?
Hollywood Undead.
Getting worse.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff, but like the good stuff was really good.
Yeah, I really wish we'd followed the groovier side of nu metal instead of whatever it was that we decided to follow.
and I feel like that's what's happening now, though. Like, I mean, because we have a bunch of either nu metal revival acts or like nu metal fusions, like Code Orange, Tala, Tetrarch, several, Vane FM. Or I think they're just Vane now. They were Vane.fm, but then I think they got the name. Copyright. Anyway, but
Ghost BC's entered the chat.
Ghost BC's entered the chat. But I think there's and St. Agnes, and I think there's just a lot of good like people that grew up on nu metal and learned what they liked about it are finding ways to keep that evolving the music into something that's entertaining and good to listen to, both for old fans and new fans alike. So that's kind of
I think that's true. I always think about that kind of thing because what drew me to it was like I liked hearing something that pushed the boundaries but in a way that I hadn't heard before, and I think that's starting to become a thing again, but it was dead for so long.
yeah and there was a reason why it was dead.
Yeah, there was a reason.
There was a reason. There were some good reasons, but there was also some good reasons for it to come back too.
I think that's true with a lot of things. Like pop punk, for some reason, is the most popular that it's been since 2001. All of a sudden, Paramore's like headlining arenas, and I'm looking like, what? Am I aging in reverse?
Good on Hayley Williams, though.
I like Paramore. I just think it's interesting. Like, really? Now we're headlining things in 2023? Okay.
I think a lot of it is nostalgia, a lot of the bands that were like the big thing when we were young now know that we are adults with some more income, and they're like, well, we're bored, so let's do a little thing.
It's funny to watch.
Do a little thing.
Like Yellow Card came out of retirement after they couldn't sell records, and they're selling out these huge venues, playing the same music. And I'm like, huh, okay.
Yeah,
it's weird how that works.
Yeah,
powerful drug.
Nostalgia, yeah.
We're definitely in the nostalgia era of the music of our youth.
I remember.
All right, I'm probably because I know Gabe has to go see Barbenheimer.
Doing a Barbenheimer.
I'm doing a Barbenheimer.
He's doing the Barbenheimer.
Because you know what? New ideas. Let's think that is a good thing.
So I'll probably end it here. But thank you all for watching the latest episode of the Riley and Friends podcast. If you have not already, subscribe to this channel and say hi in the comments. And with Corinne, Gabe, were there any things you would like to plug?
I would like to plug the same thing I always plug. If you like listening to me talk, come listen to Wham Bam Thank You Ma'am. Anywhere podcasts are found. It's a comedy romance novel analysis podcast where I read a lot of smut aloud, but also I analyze it critically because I was a writing minor, okay? But also, there's a lot of dumb jokes because we're talking about dicks and boobs, so we're also children. And we're drinking at the same time, which, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, if you just want to hear, I've been told it's like listening to your friend's info dump in a good way. We're good if you need some background sound while you're working. Just have headphones on. Dear God, do not listen to us out loud at your workplace. It might get you fired depending on where you work. Don't listen to us around children unless you have headphones on. This is an 18+ podcast. Let me make that clear. But it's a lot of fun, and I hope you'll check us out because we have a lot of fun. Last episode was Shrek.
I tuned into that one, by the way.
How'd you like it?
It was hilarious. How could it not be? It's Shrek smut.
Yeah. A glowing recommendation from Gabe.
That's what else is there?
No, it was an experience, and we'll in season 2, we're definitely going to be doing the second one, unfortunately for us, because it is a series, and the next one's called "Stay in My Swamp." We're gonna have to do it because everybody liked this episode, and now
of course
we got
they
it.
did. How could they
Of
not?
course they did. Shrek is love. Shrek is life. Check out the Shrekisode, as I've been calling it. Episode 5, Florida Man in the Swamp Folds.
Was there
And that's what I've got to plug.
Was there anything you'd like to plug, Gabe?
Yeah, just go check out some new movies that are original ideas. I think that's what's fun about Barbenheimer for me. These are new ideas and people care, and that's kind of cool.
Well, is Barbie a new idea technically?
No, but it's at least an original take.
Okay, I can get behind you there.
That's pretty much it.
Alrighty. Well, with that, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.